Good morning, world. Woke up alive again. Crazy. You know what? It's funny on that note. Kind of bugs Sarah sometimes. I don't know why. She doesn't like to think about any of us passing away, but I always say, like at the beginning of each hunt season, I always get super excited when I realize I did it again. I'm alive. I get to do this again. Yes! And I honestly feel that with each season as it comes. Each year. Don't know why, I just do. Then as soon as we get the boat back in the water, the salmon start coming back. Yes, made it again! Get to go fishing this summer again! And I honestly feel that way. And then when we work our asses off and finally make it to that time of the year during the holiday, winter holiday, we get to go on holiday again, it's like, yes, we get to go again! As long as some dirtbag government doesn't stop us with some bogus bullshit, but anyway. So I'm excited about hunting. I don't know why I'm really excited about hunting this month. I'm really excited. I think I'm more excited right now because I learned so many things about this new area that I've found. I just decided to go way north and get away from people as best I could and find a new area and start to learn. And I learned enough now that I am absolutely confident I'm going to have success. So that's the exciting part, is I already know. I know I'm going to find a great big mule deer, and I know I'm going to find a great big whitetail deer. I know I am. It's just a matter of exactly how big and how old and how cool the whole experience is going to be. So I'm excited. I'm practicing with my snow camo right now. That's another thing too about snow camo. I don't know why it's so hard to find. Nobody has it. It drives me frickin' bonkers. If I could just find some wicked snow camo. And one of the last times I did have awesome snow camo, it wasn't too thick. It was an over shell, but wasn't too soft, like it did tear easily. It was a good quality outer shell, jacket, and overall pants. And I had a hunter, and he shot a big moose. Then it was about a 2.5 hour, 3 hour horseback ride away from camp. So what we do is we quarter up the moose right there on the spot, fan it out, get the hide off, get it all quartered up to cool off as fast as we can, and then leave. And what I'll do, what I thought used to work, I'd put an article of clothing on top of it. I'd pee in around the our kill site as a method of deterrent for grizzly bears to steal it from me. And we went back to camp, we rode back to camp, and then you come back the next day with 2 additional pack horses. That's what it takes to pack out a big moose. The meat from a big moose. And went back there, and I'm riding up and riding up and riding up to the buckbrush and up the slope, and then boom. There's this massive, and I mean big, grizzly head. That's a little big, but you get big. Staring at me from about 18 meters away, and he stole the moose. I stole it back, but what pissed me off was I left my brand new snow camo laying there, my shell, brand new, and he took it. And he shredded it and added it to the pile. So what they do is they take that kill, they take the meat, and they drag it to wherever they feel comfortable to eat it. And they rototill the ground for all the way around, and they pile all the dirt on top. And my snow camo was in that pile. Ruined. And I haven't had good snow camo since. Damn it. But anyway, I did find this jacket a year ago, and it's obviously, I wore the shit out of a hunt. It's not as white as it used to be, unfortunately, but it's what I got. And then Sarah, I got her to order these snow camo hats. And this is what I'm going to be wearing all this month once I get back up into the North Country and start hunting monster whitetail mule deer. And I think she's got around, I said, how many of these got left? She's got 90 of these hats left. 90. And I'm going to grab a few for a few friends of mine that are coming hunting. And I talked her into knocking them down on sale for the month of November for all the hunters out there. So if you want a cool snow camo style hat. She's got them on sale in the store starting today, I believe. I think she knocked like $10 off of them. So they're basically nearly free. And there you go. The message has been shared. Hopefully this one's juiced up with good luck and she doesn't steal it back and ship it. Oh, and she just texted me that women's t-shirts are marked down as well. I guess she did something for the ladies. Well, I'm sure there's some lady hunters out there too. So there you go. She's got a sale going on in her store. And you can check that out in the link in the description below this video. Now let's get right into hearing voices. This is titled Valley Screams. Steve, it's been a few years since I've written to you. I will tell my next experience to the best of my ability. A few friends and I were recently overlanding the Rim Rocker Trail from Moab, Utah to Montrose, Colorado. We were halfway through the trail and decided to set up camp for the night. This particular campsite was cliffside and overlooking a valley. I spent a few minutes removing desert brush to set up my ground tent at the entrance of the campsite. My friends were into the thrill of camping as close to cliffside as possible to catch the epic sunrise in the morning. I was never into that particular thrill because I have suffered from sleep paralysis, lucid dreaming, and sleepwalking my whole life. Are you serious? Who comes up with that combo? We're gonna go camp near this cliff? Oh, side note, I sleepwalk all my life. Sorry. So far this night, nothing out of the ordinary. It was a typical night of food, friendship, and laughter around the open fire. Around 2100, we all went to bed. I snap awake. I have no idea what time it is, but my heart is leaping out of my chest. I slow my breathing and my heart rate slowly follows. That was weird. I must have been dreaming, I thought. I check my phone and look at the time. It's 0300. I grab my 9mm and place it, a little closer. This gave me just enough comfort to fall back asleep. Excuse me. I'm standing outside my tent. I begin to hear knocking on the other side of the fabric like you would a door. Can I come in? Said a mystery voice. What's going on? That is not my voice. It was pitch black outside. Why is everything blue now? Can I come in? The voice said. Why am I outside? Why would I be knocking on my own tent? I said, can I come in? The voice said with more persistence this time. I snap back awake in my tent. My heart rate is dangerously high. I'm sweating profusely. I slow my breathing and settle my heart rate again. Damn, that was one hell of a dream, I thought. I toss and turn for a few more minutes and slowly fall back asleep. I'm standing outside my tent once again. The tent begins to knock. Can I come in? Said the voice. No more fear is felt. I only feel anger towards whatever is standing outside my tent. No, you can't come in. Jesus doesn't want you here. Jehovah doesn't want you here. I don't want you here. You aren't an angel cast from heaven. You are a reject of God. You are a reject God didn't want. Now get the F out of here. I scream into the blue dream-like dimension. I snap back awake in my tent. This time, no elevated heart rate, no heavy breathing, no sweating, and no fear. I wake up the next morning, barely thinking about the night before. I felt powerful. I was able to conquer my dream, and this put me at ease. I see one of my friends start to stir awake. I casually walk over to say good morning and ask him how he slept, and he looks troubled. Hey, bud, did you hear that screaming last night around 0300, he asks. What screaming? Was it an owl grabbing a critter in the valley? I asked back. No, man, it wasn't like that. It was the loudest scream I've ever heard. I heard it over and over and over and over again, coming from somewhere in the valley. I didn't know what to make of it. It was loud enough to where it made the hairs stand on the back of my neck, he said. Wow, man. Yeah, I did snap awake a few times last night, but I wasn't sure what was waking me up, I said with a slight hesitation in my voice. I wasn't about to go into the finer details of my night. That was a story for a different time. I could tell that my friend was spooked. I wasn't sure how he would handle my story. We continue on through the rest of our trip. We eventually split ways. I head south towards home, and my friends head north. The guys decided to stay another night in Utah on their way back home. I got a text the following morning that throughout their final night of camping, they heard heavy breathing and bipedal footsteps pacing around their camp. If the wind blew just right, there was a faint smell of sulfur. Here's some side notes that may help clarify some things about my experience. When I was standing outside my tent, it felt very outer body. I did not feel like I was standing but floating. I do not believe I was the one knocking on my tent because I never actually saw hands hit the tent. I only saw the fabric moving like someone had just recently been knocking on the tent. The voice I heard asking for permission to come in sounded similar to a female's voice I had heard over the radio hours before the experience. The friend that heard the screams in the valley is a non-believer of anything cryptozoology, and is a very experienced camper. The fact that he was spooked at the valley screams was very concerning to me. It was also very concerning that he was defensive about any questions I asked pertaining to the heavy breathing, footsteps, and the smell of sulfur experience he later had. I also found it odd he compared the smell to sulfur instead of a skunk or something rotten. This friend is very religious, and I'm sure he is aware that sulfur and evil go hand in hand. My third friend has insomnia and relies on Ambien to sleep. He was medicated and does not remember anything odd throughout the whole trip. No, I was not drinking or partaking in any substance that would discredit my experience. I hope I told the story well enough for your viewers to understand. This experience was difficult to put into words. God's name is powerful. Use it when you need it. Thanks, Steve. P.S. My nickname is Scuba. Feel free to refer to me as Scuba, as to not confuse your viewers with multiple Steves running around. All right, Scuba. Gotcha. Gotcha. You know, as the emails get shared, and like some people, not too many, but some people complain that a lot of this is all repetitive. Like I didn't get lured into. I caught a comment yesterday and I decided to reply and had a few replies there. And some people get frustrated because I might not be doing what I say I'm going to do. You know, I don't want to sound like a whiny bitch on here too often when I complain about, oh man, I'm so tired. Holy shit, I got a lot to do. I'm so freaking tired. And it's just a fact of life, but I do have, my life is a little crazy. But anyways, it's tough. I have a shit pile of stuff that I want to get done, and I don't get done when I want to get it done. And managing to get somebody in here to talk with all of us on here isn't an easy thing for me to plan. It's just not. Obviously, I go away a lot. Right now, this time of year is insanity. I have to be patient with me, right? First off, I have to be patient. I've got a lot of responsibilities going on, a lot of tasks I need to get done and do and continue to do and keep everybody happy. What am I babbling about? I'm babbling. Almost got 2 coffees in me. What I'm saying is, I am behind in basically everything. What I do in the mornings, I only have about 10 minutes to look and glance over and possibly reply to a couple emails in the morning, maybe. And then I carry on, and I hope to get other emails replied to later on. And usually that doesn't happen for days. Shit, what was I trying to say? I'm losing my train of thought. I'm just starting to wake up here. What I was going to say, the point I'm trying to make originally is, as we share everybody's voice, which I have said that I will not stop sharing everybody's voice, and I won't. I'm going to get them all heard. But in the meantime, if things do sound repetitive, just take note that the knowledge is going up and up and up. Although we do not take too many moments out of our mornings to speak of them. But that knowledge is increasing substantially when it comes to this topic and more. All right? Although a lot of the emails we read may sound repetitive, but it's the repetitive part that is frickin' gold. And I think there's a handful of people that can't pick that up. I had a detective email us earlier and said flat out, as soon as they see something 3 times, it's a pattern, and they focus on it. Because it's very, very important. Very important to come up with patterns. And their number is 3. 3 times is a pattern to detectives, okay? Now, if you look at how many times we have for each pattern, when it comes to this topic and more, holy shit. And it's only recently when I'm really starting to focus on the valuable aspect of that. The patterns we have are monstrous. The amount of people sharing from around the globe in the same patterns that keep showing up is absolute gold. Bit of a babble, hope making sense. Maybe let a shot of coffee. Now recently, these coincidence, I don't know. But a lot of the emails lately are starting to point out the missing time, someone's physical body being moved from being here and showing up over there and missing time in between. That is a pattern that's been in our face for quite some time, excuse me, but recently, including meeting with my friend Kelly Dan and him explaining to me what happened to his friend, and other emails we've read since then, a lot has been pointing to that pattern of missing time, missing space, showing up over here, having a sighting of something, waking up in a culvert, etc. Footprints stopping. So what I'm getting at is the knowledge gaining going up here. At this stage of the game, I hope, if everybody's been listening to all the people, I hope that if you haven't yet, hopefully you soon will, begin to accept the fact that these beings can and do manipulate their bodies, their flesh, and change into what may be, who knows, some kind of other existence. Energy, do they manipulate their vibration? Whatever it is they're doing, quantum physics, I believe, if you want to dive into that topic, might be a little confusing for some, but I believe that possibly will explain, make it easier to understand how and what these beings are doing. For me, and I never tell anybody that I'm right at anything, but for me, right now, at this stage, for me, I am absolutely 150% convinced that these beings do shift from the physical world to what some may refer to as the spiritual world. Whatever that world may be referred to is the world that most of us can't see, but we are without a doubt a part of. But these beings know how to go back and forth. 100%. I am absolutely convinced of this, and now I'm moving forward from that on. I'm not staying there. I'm trying to move forward on my own puzzle. I'm just trying to figure that shit out. But in the meantime, no matter how repetitive it is, I'm going to keep sharing voices, and I'm going to keep sharing their experiences because they need to be heard. And there are possibly other patterns about to come up that we haven't had presented to us yet. But if we stop, they won't get here. Right? They won't get here if we stop. So, buckle down. Suck it up. Listen to every single person, no matter how many times you've heard that flavor. Because it's very, very important. We can't get anywhere without the people and listening to the people. All right? There goes Adventure Dog. Something in her mouth. I hope it's not something bad. Anyway, here we go. Here's another one. Short one. Addendum to my story sent October 24th. Hi, Steve, Jim here. I went back up to the state forest to retrace my steps where I had that weird experience. I was looking for the 2-foot wide game trail that I had followed to the right of the path. It wasn't there. So I continued down the path just to make sure that maybe I was mistaken as to how far down the trail was. I stalked all around that section of forest and everything was as I remembered it from previous hunts. Sure would like to know how I ended up over a half a mile north of where I should have been. Thanks for all the rants. It's good to know I'm not the only one. Okay, Jim. That'll be October 24th, you guys. If you want to go back for the reference, listen to his experience. And that's that part. That fuels my curiosity for me at the stage of my puzzle is I have absolutely accepted the fact that these beings can shift from the physical world to the we can't see it world. Okay? The spiritual world, whatever you want to refer to it as. So, for me at this stage of the game, the confusing part for me is what is causing people to be able to go from here to there mysteriously and not remember nothing. What's that all about? Do you know what I mean? Now, are these possible doorways in a way with, I don't know what to call them. Call them a portal, call them a doorway, call it an opening, call it a hole, call it whatever you want. But what the question is what are they? Is this intentionally placed in front of a human being? Is it by accident? Is something opening up that somebody else knows how to use, but they don't know how to shut it right away? Or is that opening out of control of these beings? Is this experience, whatever this is, that is causing human beings to lose time, show up somewhere else physically without knowing how they got there? Is that item, we'll call it an item, which is facilitating this experience for humans. We'll call it an item. You can call it a portal if you want, or a doorway. I don't give a shit what you refer to it as. I'm going to call it an item right now because I haven't a clue. Is that item... Are these beings able to manipulate and control those items? Or do they seek them out and look for them and take advantage of these items while they're present? I hope I'm making sense. See what I'm getting at? Because I don't know. And are random human beings entering these items by accident and nobody and nothing can stop the human beings from doing it by accident? And then they are luckily spat out fairly close by and retain their life and their safety and carry on. Hell, am I confusing as shit this morning or what? But anyway, that's what I am curious about. Are these beings in control of these spaces when these spaces are facilitating a human being to lose time and move physically without knowing they are? Are they in control of that? Or are they not in control of that, but they do seek out and use these openings themselves when they can? There you go. Moving along. I better shut my mouth now. My brain just spits it out when it comes up between my ears, all right? Now, who else? All right, here we go. Here's another one. This is titled, I Will Never Forget. Hey, Steve, you are a pisser and great work. It's a new one. I'm a Vermonter who lives in mid-state and right on the New York border. I was the owner of a mining business with deep pits and very large waste piles of large rock, some hundreds of feet deep, and high on top, surrounded with endless acres of deep woods. The nearest town was a mile away from this one. This was 76 or 77, close enough. One night about 11 p.m. we drove up there, a lady friend in tow, to talk and maybe get acquainted a little better, for I had guests at home and this was a spur of the moment. Bad. We parked near one of the pits on a cement hard roadway, enjoying the isolation for many reasons. We were in a Volkswagen Beetle, and being a warm evening, the windows were rolled down. It was safe, secure, and on the small chance anyone was to drive in, chances zero we would hear them, for it was a location where you could hear a caterpillar sneeze from 20 miles. About 15 minutes into our chat and a shared beer, I heard a big tree break about a third of a mile to the south, just past the end of one of these huge quarries. I thought it a little odd, but trees do fall in the spring. And, outside of deer, there was little to give concern. Plus, in my youth, I had bigger fish to fry. Maybe 5 minutes later, but still a quarter mile away, it sounded like some brush breaking, with maybe some light hoot or noise, but was still not concerned. The radio was on, but very low, so it bothered little. When I parked, I had spun around so that all I had to do was start the car and go straight, and I'd be back on pavement. The back of the Beetle was towards the woods and the noise. So, maybe 10 or 15 minutes from then, quietly at first, then gradually louder, so from behind, I heard this very stealth, two-footed walk trying to sneak up behind my car. My companion didn't hear a thing, but saw that I was on red alert and had the hair on my back up like porcupine quills and goosebumps the size of baseballs, and this odd feeling of fear. I don't think I froze up, but outside, pointing towards the back window, I went for the ignition, and I don't think it ever took that bug longer to start. When it came to life, I only had my mirrors to look behind, for my friggin' flight was heading for the moon, and whatever was behind me was just being illuminated by the taillights, and could have grabbed my bumper, if so inclined. Just maybe the starting car startled it for a second. All I remember seeing was a waist and whatever there was for a head angled out of sight too high. As I made my escape, my guest manages to turn and look out the back window of the Beetle, to which gave her a look of fear like one cares not to see, other than a dozen holy shits from me and a dear God, huge and monster or something from her. She then remained silent and just reverted to hand signals until I dropped her off at home in total shock. I was not much better. I asked her what she saw, but she said she never wanted to know. Our paths never crossed again. Whereabouts unknown, just like my boxers from that evening. Steve, it was huge. 9 foot easy, I would say, and very dark hair, I believed. But the red from the car taillights could throw what I thought was black color off. That was a quarry I was running and had to do it during the day. But with company or one of my men, I could never go there alone again, day or night. I had to go in there again the next AM with an employee and found a very odd scuffs for tracks and some other tracks that were like 2 concentric circles, 6 inches in diameter. I know the woods, but never thought Sasquatch was around here till of late. And that quarry and old structures are perfect habitat for them. I'm quiet, humble, and love people and life, but I'm disabled now, for never had a man nor a woman work with me that I didn't do their job too. It was tough on the body. My company is well known. Me, purposely, not as much, but one could figure it out quick. Thank you for helping people open up. Now I wish I could get my body to do the same. Call me Fred. Stay safe and live well. Okay, Fred, welcome to the club. That one sounds a little familiar. It may have been read quite some time ago, maybe. That sucks. Why do they do that? Why do these beings do it? I think it's just a game, man, right? I think it's just a game. Maybe they realize that they may have shifted into our physical existence. I want to see how stealthy they actually are in the flesh compared to the other side. Maybe. So many people have had them sneaking up in the car while parked, right? Here's another one. Appreciate you sending that in, man. I hope you're still with us and watching the channel. I'll bet you your past friend in the car isn't. I don't think she wants anything to do with the topic, I'll bet. Excuse me. All right, what do we got here? Encounters. Okay, I read that. I know I read that. What's this one? Mark, this is red. This is titled, What Just Happened to Me Today is Mind-Blowing. Steve, what was lost is now found. This happened to me 7 years ago while traveling with my wife and daughter from Bremerton, Washington to Glacier National Park, Yellowstone National Park, and then to Salt Lake City. While driving on Highway 12 along the Lochsaw River in the Bitterroot Mountains of Idaho, we stopped at the trailhead to Jerry Johnson Hot Springs. We took the footbridge over the river and hiked the trail 3/4 of a mile to the springs. My wife and I were showing our daughter this beautiful spot that we had backpacked to nearly 25 years before. We found us a beautiful spot along Warm Springs Creek to have lunch. I unpacked my day pack to retrieve cheese and crackers and pulled out my buck knife to slice the cheese with. This knife was an award for work above and beyond at Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. After lunch, we made our way back to our truck and continued on with our journey. 2 days later, while staying at a cabin at Red Lodge, Montana, I went through the day pack to discover my prized knife was gone. I was heartsick at this. Fast forward to over 1 year later, while I was cleaning out my truck one summer day, I was using my shop vac to clean between my driver's seat and center console. I was stunned to find my knife lying there. The sheath had some dried mud on it. I never would have put it away dirty. And I was overjoyed and dumbfounded at the same time. Steve, I have entirely and meticulously cleaned my truck several times since this trip, let alone tearing my truck apart in Red Lodge to find this prized possession. It wasn't there. But a year later, it miraculously shows up where I would find it. I'm sure it had nothing to do with a prayer I made to the Lord that I would find it. Blessings to you and your family. Rick Tomlinson. All right, Rick. I can relate, man. I can relate. And I think that's, those stories are easy for people to go, huh? Crazy. And then not pay too much attention to, right? I think these experiences, the items returned, showing up again, that's just something everybody's got to experience themselves to understand the impact on your brain. It's a little bit much. It's a little bit much. Crazy. What do we got here? All right, here's another email titled Scared. Fairly recent. I don't believe it's been shared. Steve, I appreciate everything that you're doing and taking time out of your life to do this channel. The reason I have decided to write in again is because I've heard some stories of other people being really scared by these things. I'm a hunter, I'm a tracker, and I'm not scared of the woods by any means. I think the only animal I'm scared of is a grizzly. I'm not scared of the woods. I'm sorry, I am rambling. Enough of me beating on my chest. I'll get to the point. I've had dealings with these things, but the last time it really effed my head up. If there is someone out there that is talking to these things, will they please let me come? I'm nobody. I have no platform and no agenda. I just need to meet these things. I have to. At this point, I feel like it's a calling on my life. Me and wife have went back to the place where it happened and talked out loud and let them know that we are just passing through. But the next night, it was whistling at us in the middle of the night. I hear these things at night outside of my house. I'm not crazy. I told them if they want to talk to me to show themselves, just don't scare me. I've studied these things. I have studied these things that I could share, but I'm currently stopped in my tracks. I can't force myself back into the woods at this point. Thank you for all you do. The name of my website is Hook Outfitters. I've been a guide for 10 years myself, and we love to hunt and fish. Steve, this is the kind of person I am. If you ask me to go anywhere to face anything in the woods, I'm not scared, but maybe I should be. I know you're busy, but I really need your help on this. Michael Roberts. Okay, man, I am definitely not the matchmaker when it comes to these beings and human beings myself. And it sounds like if they're around, it sounds like they are around where you are, right? So I don't know. I mean, all you can do is listen to what people say here. Hearing voices. Stuff being left for them. There are people who have conversations with these beings. There are. I am absolutely convinced of that. And yes, I will be talking to them. Just, I cannot nail down a date yet. Not till after this time of year is done. For me. But I don't know, man. I don't know what your drive is to want to be in a conversation with these beings. Myself, I don't know. Teach their own. But just keep in mind, careful what you wish for, all right? Listen to all the people here. Careful what you wish for. You know, there is a good fair amount of people I've taken note that have shared that they went out of their way to leave gifts, food, items, whatever, communicate with his beings, and in the end they wish they hadn't. Right? So make sure you do your due diligence, do a shit pile of homework on this topic. Listen to the people. All right? And hopefully you can find where you're looking for that by using that route first, as opposed to just diving in there and offering up your ass and possibly opening up a door that you can't close ever again, right? You gotta think about that. Anyway, not like I'm the best counselor in the world, right? Somebody reply to this man in the comment section below if you can help him out. Okay, here's another one. This is titled Possible Dog Man Sighting South of Fort McMurray. That's in Alberta, northern Alberta. And that as well is right smack dab, almost bullseye to where somebody sent in there's a video with the recording of this horrendous, terrifying freaking roar / scream. And they got it and they shared it here. I don't know where it is in the YouTube column, but it's there. And that's where it was recorded. Sorry about that, Steve. It's Ricardo here again. I'm using an unfamiliar laptop, and I somehow sent this halfway through writing it. So I'll start from the beginning again to minimize the confusion. Ricardo, I think this is the Ricardo that's been with us from the beginning, haven't you? Seashelt? Robert? Contact? I hope you, Sarah, and the family are doing well, staying happy and healthy. I just finished watching your video entitled, State Patrol Never Asked Me Again, My Career Was Threatened. You read an email from a fellow who had kept pace with an enormous canine driving his vehicle at 45 miles per hour down a road. As I was listening, a memory popped into my head from about 25 years ago. I can't remember what time of year it was, but it was dark, so it had to be late summer or early fall because there was no snow and the trees hadn't started turning yet. I was driving to Edmonton one night, and I was coming to the Hanging Stone River. I had just passed the Department of Highways yard and was parallel to the Hanging Stone River campground when I noticed two bright reflections on the other side of the river, on the slope of the hill near the top. This grabbed my attention at the time because I had driven that highway for years and couldn't remember seeing reflectors in that spot before. As I crested the hill on the north side of the river heading down to the bridge, I was still looking at the reflectors when I realized that it was eye shine. because I could see the silhouette of some kind of an animal. The eyes were huge. Like I mentioned above, I thought they were reflectors of some sort. I never took my eyes off this thing. It was dimly lit by my headlights, and it was about halfway between the road and the tree line. As I was driving past this thing, I could see the shape of it. And what it looked like to me was a giant doe or a cow moose, because there were no antlers. It was sitting on its haunches like a dog would. It never shifted its gaze. It just sat there staring across the river. I was looking at it in profile as I passed. The first thing that crossed my mind was the sheer size of it. So I figured it must have been a really big cow moose. Then it struck me how odd it was for a moose to be sitting on its haunches like that, because it looked just like an enormous dog. Then the goosebumps hit me, and I put the pedal to the metal and sped away. But as I did that, I was thinking of how silly I was to be afraid of a moose sitting like a puppy. I can still picture in my mind's eye, just sitting there, staring off across the river. It looked like a giant dog, but my mind wouldn't let me process that, so it was a big cow moose. At that point in my life, I was curious about the Sasquatch, and I'd never heard of the dog man, so neither of those things were even on my radar at that moment. And every time I've told that story, I've always said it was a moose. So, for your video to trigger that memory is so vividly, I believe that I have been wrong all these years about what I saw that night. And I believe that I do know now what it actually was. As always, thank you for what you're doing. You have most certainly made a huge to the people who need to know. I think you meant difference to the people who need to know that they are not alone. Also, please don't forget about Robert and his family. Okay, same one. I think that if anyone can help them find justice for what they've been put through by that fat piece of human garbage money taker and the BC government, it's you. Happy hunting. All my best wishes to you and Sarah and the family. All of you stay safe and look after one another. Okay, man, gotcha. I'm sure you should still be here watching the channel, I'm guessing, right? I'll be curious to see what you have learned or come across since we started this crazy ride. And send me an update. Send me an update about Robert, too. That was a while back, wasn't it? I was pretty fired up about that after hearing what the BFRO did to him, his family, and many other people, right? Now, Fort McMurray, that's a long road. I used to go to a small town called Smith, Alberta, which isn't too far from Fort McMurray, and run around the forests there. There's a shit pile of antlered game around there. Moose, elk, and deer. Both mule deer and white-tailed deer. Really remote. So, there has been a lot of sightings of odd beings along that stretch. The road to Fort McMurray. Big oil field community. Oil patch. A lot of guys in that field probably laugh at another guy for admitting they saw something and talking about it, right? So I wonder how many of those people that frequent that highway are sitting here watching this channel and not saying shit. Now listen, if you are, and the names of these places Ricardo just shared and more, if you are sitting here being quiet and listening, and at the same time you've had something terrifying happen, you don't want to talk about it, you might want to rethink talking about it and get a hold of me at sharemystory@howtohunt.com and share it with me. I won't share your name or shit, where you work, nothing. We want to know what you know, what you've seen there, alright? Thanks for sending it in again, man. That's probably a while back. This is an older one, right? Here's another one. My weird experience, to title this email. Hello, Steve. My name is Jason Hicks. So glad I stumbled across your channel recently. You're doing a fantastic job, and I absolutely appreciate your no bullshit and honest approach to the Bigfoot topic, as well as you lending a voice to the obviously many people out there who've had an experience or are interested in straightforward discussion about them. As someone who had a real experience and want real information and understanding about these things, we need straightforward, hones discussion about this, and I feel you really bring that home here. Thank you. And you are welcome. And it's done. It's not done without people like you and everybody here. 100% group creation here. I'm a 46-year-old man living in Little Rock, Washington, which is a small town an hour south of Seattle, Washington. I've lived in this area my whole life. When I was a kid, I would spend hours upon hours either in the woods or in the fields of the 500-acre dairy farm behind where I grew up. I had no siblings, and my parents were divorced, so I had to create my own entertainment and find things to do that I enjoyed on my own. Too bad kids don't have to do that nowadays. It would make them a lot better human beings. Anyway, I've always absolutely loved being outside in nature. I've worked in commercial construction and the timber and AG industries my whole life. I'm a hard-working, blue-collar, self-reliant individualist that has experienced a lot of life, and 95% of my awake time is spent outside. One thing I had not experienced in my life was an encounter with something I could not identify what it was. That was until 3 years ago this fall. I was taking care of paperwork for my business on the computer one evening around 11 p.m. when I decided I should call it a day. I went to turn the light off and head for bed and realized I forgot to feed the dog. I opened the back door and I remember it was a cool, clear evening with a slight ground fog settled in and very quiet out. I poured a scoop of food into the dog's bowl. The dog came running around from the front of the house to greet me, and I patted him on the head, gave him a good boy, and turned to walk into the house. About the time I touched the doorknob, I heard a super loud guttural scream from the back of our 5 acres down by the trees and beyond the shop. It was loud as hell, and I could not identify it with any type of animal. At first I thought it was a human, but I realized it was way too loud from so far away, and it sounded like it came from the bellows, if you know what I mean. Very powerful, from the gut. It lasted about 5 or 6 seconds. I froze in my tracks, and the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and my eyes started watering. Wow, that's a significant sound. I felt an overwhelming sense of fight or flight immediately. It's really hard to explain how I felt. I knew this is something that I cannot identify. Basically, what the F was that? My dog, which was a very large, full-grown German Shepherd, who's extremely protective of our home and family, and just getting ready to dig into his late supper, tucked his ears down to his head, tail between his legs, and headed for the front of the house. About that time, I heard what all I can describe as is very deep but very loud whoops. Maybe 10 of them, back to back, which grew consecutively louder and louder. My instant thought was something that you might see on a National Geographic show about apes, and I remember thinking, what the F is an ape doing out the back of my property? On a side note, after lots of my own individual research, I don't believe these things are apes, but that is the closest thing I know of to describe the whoops. I stood there in disbelief, my mind racing, trying to understand what I just experienced, when all of a sudden, from the back of the property, I could hear something running at a gallop's pace from where the sounds came from at a diagonal track through my back field. I could not see anything as the porch light was hindering my ability to see beyond its reach into the dark. To put it in perspective for you, it ran by our house at a rate of speed about 70 feet from where I was standing. I heard a double step and a rustle in the brush, and then complete silence. Whatever it was, it jumped our fence and landed in the brush on the other side of the fence, and was either stopped standing there or had evacuated the area in complete silence. I can't explain how dumbfounded, freaked out, and confused I was. I'm not sure how smart my next move was, but I ran in the door, went straight to my gun safe, and pulled out the closest weapon, which happened to be a Browning 12 gauge. I fumbled 3 shells into it, and ran out the back door. I ran to the front of the house, and the dog was hiding under the front porch. I grabbed him by the collar and literally had to drag him into the back field with me. My eyes slowly adjusted to the dark, and we just stood there. I was scared as hell, and so was the dog. All my senses were in high alert, and I could hear nothing but absolute silence other than our breathing. We stood there still for about 15 minutes. Once the dog came back to a more resemblance of a German Shepherd, I started walking back along the direction from which this thing ran, still holding him by the collar. The dog, who I've never seen track before, slowly started to take a 10-foot wide side-to-side path at a very slow pace, with his ears pinned back, all to the back of the property. All the way to the back of the property, where the scream and whoops originally came from. At this point, adrenaline was wearing off and anxiety started to set in, and we beat it back to the house. I brought the dog into the house, and I instantly ran into the bedroom where my wife was sleeping and then asked her if she had heard anything that had just happened. She said no, she'd been sound asleep. I explained the whole experience to her, and I think she thought I was screwing with her until she could see I was shaking from the adrenaline dump and hearing the shaking in my voice. I immediately got on YouTube searching Bigfoot sounds, trying to find something that sounded like what I had heard, until daylight the next morning. I never did find a recording that sounded like the whoops I'd heard, but I did find several similar screams recorded. I can tell you, the running through the back field absolutely convinced me this was bipedal. I've been around cattle and horses my whole life. Trust me, I know what it sounds like when a four-legged animal runs at full speed. The astonishing thing about this was it was very heavy footsteps, extremely fast. I mean, the distance covered in relationship to the time blew my mind. It was absolutely two-legged. This experience really changed me. I never experienced anything like this. I've always kept an open mind to things I can't prove one way or another, but I really lean towards the idea that something like this probably doesn't exist, or it would have been proven by now. My grandfather was an absolute hunting fool and spent the majority of his life doing just that. He would scoff at the mention of Bigfoot because he never had an encounter and had spent so many hours in the woods. I'm a 100% believer now, and the interesting thing is, I'm not embarrassed or scared to tell people or bring up the topic or ask others if they've had experiences like this. I could give two shits if people think I'm a weirdo or not. I know what happened to me. That's that. I've found that by having that attitude, it makes people feel more comfortable bringing up their experiences or others' experiences whom they know. I'm sorry for this being so long, but I wanted to share every detail of my experience. It's a very profound moment in my life I'll never forget. I have others' experiences that have been told to me that I will ask them to share with you or get their permission to share them with you for them. It's crazy how many people I know that never ever mentioned the topic who have their own or others' experiences. I ask everybody that spends any time in the woods now just because I'm so curious to understand what these things are now. Two final notes about this. There was no smell. Some people say they smell an odor, but I smelled nothing. Obviously, the dog did, but I didn't. One thing I noticed was it was like a switch went off. And the dog, the moment it heard the scream, and then also back the other way when we were standing in the field. It's like he sensed when the danger was gone, and he then started to track. Also, we live right next to a 92,000 acres state-owned tree farm capital forest. We do have some neighbors here, but it's a huge wilderness area behind us. Thanks for taking the time and best wishes, Jason. Okay, man. Appreciate you sending that in. He gave a very detailed delivery. He put us right there. Love that. You fully explained the impact it had on you and what you heard, and the dog is perfect. Perfect description, man. You delivered that really well. But it is amazing. I'm talking to you directly. Isn't it funny how many people know? Isn't it crazy? And I always tell people, hey, man, You just start looking people in the eyes and lose the comedy flavor and just talk straight up. You ever heard anything or seen anything that's really confusing in the woods, or know anybody? Anything? And they know exactly what you're talking about from the word go, and they usually give it up. Sometimes you need to do a little prodding, a little convincing that you're legit and you're not trying to be funny or ridicule them, and it is a safe place to spill. But man, oh man, the amount of people that know is absolutely amazing when you compare it to the amount of information delivered to the public, which is nothing, from where we've been conditioned to look for answers, which is absolute bullshit and the wrong thing to do from day one. Right? I'll say it till I'm dead. The second we put somebody right there and we're conditioned to keep our mouths shut and listen to them tell us what's what, and if we don't repeat what they tell us, we fail, that's the biggest F up for mankind there has been. Right? It's funny when you look back to when some peoples were a tribe. I wonder how they govern themselves in passing knowledge down. I don't think they selected one person in the tribe to take all the kids and put them in that room over there and tell them what's up and make sure that they repeat what they say. Right? I know it probably doesn't make any sense as my brain doesn't mesh up with my lips too smoothly, but I have a funny feeling that in the early days, successful groups of individuals, human beings thriving on the face of the planet, did not take all the children and put them in a confined space and make them repeat and repeat and repeat. And if they didn't repeat correctly, they failed. I'll bet you that didn't even exist at all. At all. I think I was born the wrong time. Anyway, I did a lot of confusing babbling this morning, didn't I? Oops. Share my story at howtohunt.com. All right? Give me the knowledge you got. I want it. I'm craving it. Please share your knowledge. Okay? No matter how crazy it sounds. Snow camo. It's the hat of the month for me. She's got them on sale. I think she's got 90. Probably less. And she texts me some ladies' items that are on sale in her store, so you might want to check that out with the link in the description. Now, here we go. This is going to be a long day. Usually, I think we had 6 people here helping process all the chickens, but now we're down to 2. So, and Sarah is the second person. This is going to be a very challenging, long day. I hope it goes smooth and I hope we get it done, but we got to get it done. It's eating me alive. And I got to go pick up our plucker, get her set up, get the water boiling, and get it done. So here I go. Apologize if I babble too much today. Sometimes it happens, right? Back later on.